Good afternoon. Just about got everybody seated. Hi, everybody. Hello. I know, right? Good to see you. Welcome to spring showers in Houston, Texas. I know, right? I'm so glad you made it. I was like, oh my goodness, but we have pretty much full room here, which is wonderful. So welcome to the Arms Wide Luncheon, benefiting, of course, Arms Wide. I'm Frank Billingsley, Chief Meteorologist. I'm glad, this is 10 years for me now. If you've been to this event in the past, then you know my connection to Arms Wide. And in case you don't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it because it's a personal one. If this is your first time here, you may not know that I am adopted. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. Anybody from Little Rock? Yeah. Little Rock is like Austin, except it's not fun. But I didn't last long there. I was actually raised in Birmingham, Alabama. Anybody from Birmingham? Yeah, well, it's like Atlanta, but it's not fun either. But it was a great upbringing. I was very, very lucky. I used my DNA in my adulthood, just about 10, 12 years ago, to reconnect with biological family, which was an incredible journey. So incredible, I wrote a book about it called Swabbed and Found. So suffice it to say, adoption has been a big part of my life and a part of my personal story. So I've come a little full circle with this experience. Arms Wide, as you know, is here to support children in foster care. And I thought as I drove over here, you know, we go through these thunderstorms. Do you feel anxiety when we get these thunderstorms? Or is it just because I'm a professional? And you know, and then you've got to think, well, am I going to go to the luncheon today and brave this weather, or am I not? Am I going to flood on the way here? Am I going to be okay to get home? Everything's centered around that moment of anxiety. And if you'll indulge my metaphor here, a lot of kids, every single day is a thunderstorm for them. Every single day they wake up and they're in a flood, and they wonder, is today going to be the day that I find my forever home? And they go every single day wondering that. Just like that little anxiety you felt today, and maybe you're still feeling. So it's one of the reasons that we're here, to connect these kids with permanent, loving families. So I'm honored to be back 10 years in a row. I don't know how many you've come to, but it's good to see all of you. I was involved in 2015. I'm pretty sure to say that one of the reasons I come is because you all are so good looking. It's true. So best dressed. And because you're here. And I think to get out in this weather really shows your commitment. So your bright outfits and your bright smiles lend the most incredible infectious energy to today's cause. So as host, I can feed off that energy all day long, although I'm going to be rushing out at 1:30 to work. So thank you for being here. Before we get further into today's program, I want to acknowledge and thank our incredible luncheon chairs, Sarah Barrett and Michele Marandi. Are you going to stand up? Thank you. On behalf of Sarah and Michele, the entire Luncheon Host Committee, I want to thank you all for being here this afternoon as we raise this critical funding for Arms Wide and their mission to transform the lives of children in foster care in need of safe and nurturing permanent families. Safe families in the storm of life. Thanks to you all, we have already raised, as we go into this, $165,000. And it's from people like you. It's from the kindness of your hearts that make Arms Wide's work possible and enable them to carry out their mission. So on behalf of some of our community's most vulnerable children, we say thank you, because we would not exist without donor support. And that's just a fact. And I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that fact today. We can't do it without money. Arms Wide is an outstanding organization. They have served the Houston community for 47 years. That's the epitome of small and mighty. 47 years. I'm going to brag about them just a little bit. If this is your first time learning about them, you need to understand the generosity and all the things that make Arms Wide such a special organization worthy of your support. They provide a full spectrum of free high-quality services to support permanent connections. Free. Families pay nothing. They do this to provide a sense of belonging for children in foster care through their 4 core programs. Foster care, everybody kind of knows what foster care is. Foster care, adoption, kinship care, and then post-adoption and permanency support. Put simply, they support children in foster care through supporting connection with forever families. Forever families can be built through many different paths, not only through foster care adoption, but what may be new to you is kinship care. This is, I think, one of the strongest parts of fostering. In kinship care, relatives such as grandparents or aunts and uncles or other significant adults in a child's life, like neighbors or family friends, can provide children permanent connections when they cannot safely remain with their first families. So this gives kids an important alternative to traditional foster care. It enables youth to maintain connections to caring adults. More than 40% of Texas children in foster care are in kinship placement. So connecting these with family members or neighbors or friends, this is huge to what we are doing. In addition to connecting children with permanent families, Arms Wide is also there for children and families beyond those journeys to permanency to support children and youth as they heal from past trauma. And they help families navigate life's ups and downs. They do this through their post-adoption and permanency support services, of which they're the only state contracted provider in all of the greater Houston region to do this. These programs include case management, 24-hour crisis assistance, therapy, and peer support groups to support youth and their forever families. From the beginning of the journey until the youngest adopted child turns 18 years old, Arms Wide is there to guide, support, celebrate, and make a positive impact on the whole family, all again at no cost to those families. Over the past 47 years, Arms Wide has connected nearly 2,300 children with forever families and serves 1,000 children and their families each year through its core programs. And again, people like you make this happen. These kind of fundraisers, none of this would be possible without them. Ultimately, Arms Wide aims to preserve and fulfill families and prevent children from lingering into foster care, because aging out at 18, that's tough, especially if you have no permanent family connections. There are few resources for those kids, and more than 800 children in Texas turned 18 while in foster care last year and aged out of the system. We know that kids need stable, caring adults in their lives, and that's why Arms Wide is trying to make that a reality. So if you keep up with the news and all that's happening with Texas foster care, you know that the need to invest in children is urgent. With that being said, I usually wait until the end of the program to ask about whether you know where the QR codes are on your program. Donation cards are at your table. So if you could use that QR code or that donation card, we would really appreciate it. You can do it right now. There's no better time than the present. If anyone needs extra motivation beyond an incredible mission and an urgent need, I'm excited to share this. The Spiewak family have offered to match every single donation today up to $25,000. So if I get you to donate $25,000, I'm really getting $50,000 out of the deal. With your support, Arms Wide is showing up and down, doing the work, showing up and doing the work every day to make sure that as many children have safe and permanent families as possible. So we're excited to share some stories of families that have preserved and fulfilled, of children whose families have been transformed. Later in the day, you'll hear such a story from Debbie Murray, an Arms Wide foster and adoptive mother. This is going to floor you, so I'm going to repeat this. Foster and adoptive mother who, together with her husband Kevin, has adopted 13 children and fostered nearly 90 children through Arms Wide. In Little Rock, we call that a farm. In fact, their journey with Arms Wide began in 1988, 36 years ago, making them the longest-serving foster parents in Arms Wide history. It's your support of this luncheon which provides the funds needed to equip and empower parents like the Murrays who can go on to leave a long-standing legacy in their communities and beyond. So before we break for lunch, I again want to iterate our gratitude for this year's incredible luncheon chairs, Sarah and Michele. Thank you so much. They worked hard to fill this room. I did my best with bad weather to not let you fill the room, but you did a great job. Table 8 over there, you're all by yourself. If you want to pull a chair up to my table, you're more than welcome. Or I'll just come sit with you. They've worked so hard, and it's really worked. So people say yes when they like the chairs. It's true. When the chairs reach out and people like you and believe in your mission and believe in you, they say, okay, I'll be there for you. And they have been there certainly today. So thank you for all the support of our chairs. Last but not least, Ruth and Anthony Nocella, I think they do this every year, don't they? They are once again sponsoring the meals today, 100%. So I know, 100. So all of that, so many of these galas and lunches and dinners that I do, I hear the chairs say, well, you know, we don't make anything until we get $125 because that's how much the meal costs. And that is so common to hear that. But to have that part sponsored is huge. So everything that's donated today goes right to Arms Wide and not to the lunch. So thank you so much, Anthony and Ruth. We really appreciate that. Again, to the Spiewaks, we thank you. $50,000, so we got to get there. So I think it's going to be a fantastic program highlighted by Tori Hope Petersen, who is today's keynote speaker. She stole my chair because she wanted to talk to Sean Namath over there, but that's okay. I stole her purse. She spent much of her childhood in foster care. She's now a best-selling author and speaker and a fierce advocate for foster care reform and adoption. We'll talk more about Tori in just a moment. In the meantime, I know you're tired of me, so let's eat lunch. Enjoy your table mates. Enjoy your lunch. Have more champagne so you'll bid higher, and I'll see you in just about 15 minutes. Thank you. Hello again, everybody. Y'all are the most well-behaved crowd I've been in a long time. I mentioned the QR codes. They're on the table. They're right next to the donation cards. They look like this. So I just wanted to point those out again. If we can get $25,000 today, it'll be matched by the Spiewak family to $50,000. So hope you're enjoying lunch. A big hand for our servers today. Thank you, guys and ladies. We really appreciate all of your attention to us. So we want to be mindful of your time on a rainy week. I just checked the radar. It's still raining, by the way, in case you didn't know. I know. I have the pleasure of speaking with Tori as a lunchmate, Tori Hope Petersen, and I'm really eager to hear her speak. Tori's dad's side of the family resides where? Right here in Houston, Texas. I know. She mentions that in her book, by the way. So welcome back to our spring showers. High humidity, Tex-Mex, Whataburger. We're thrilled to have you. Tori spent much of her youth in foster care. She lived in 12 different foster homes before aging out of the system at 18 years old. Despite the abuse, the neglect, and the instability that she faced, Tori defied all odds and expectations, and she is now on the other side as a foster mom, an adoptive mom, and a biological mom. That's all the moms there are, I think. You got it all. On top of that, she became a track and field All-American in college, a Mrs. Universe winner. I know, it gets better and better. She now works with nonprofits, ministries, and beyond, advocates for foster care reform, adoption, and vulnerable populations. She has bravely and beautifully recounted her experience in foster care in the acclaimed and best-selling memoir, Fostered, one woman's powerful story of finding faith and family through foster care. She shared her story on Good Morning America, Essence, and other national publications. Please give a big Texas welcome to our keynote speaker, Tori Hope Petersen.
What he forgot to mention is that I've also been to jail. Has anybody else here been to jail? That's my guy. That's my person. I love that. Hey, that's how you know you're in a good crowd. Just if a few people have also been to jail. I'm up here because I first went into the foster care system when I was 4 years old. Uniformed men, they busted through my front door and they started to take bags of drugs down from where my mom hid them. And then a woman came and swooped me up off the floor. She took me to the backyard and she started pushing me on my swing set. And I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "We're just gonna go somewhere for a little while." And she sat me on the bottom of a metal floor of a truck, a SWAT truck, that took me to the Human Services offices, and then from there, I was taken to my first ever foster home. When I went into foster care for that first time, whoa, I did not have any champagne or whatever was out there. I only had the sparkling water, so. When I went into foster care the first time, my feeling was I just wanted to be back with my mom. When you're so young, you don't know that what you're going through is dysfunctional in any way. And one of the things that my mom said, always told me, was that she loved me. My mom always spoke over me. She told me that I was beautiful. And from what I understood, I had a good mom, and I lived in a good home. I was provided for. I ate good food. The first time that I ever went into my first foster home, everyone's foster care experience is different. Don't judge me, guys. But she gave me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I said, "I don't eat this, I eat steak," because we had drug money. And they were shocked. I also did not eat mac and cheese. I was like, "What is that yellow stuff?" And so I just wanted to go back. I wanted to live with my mom. And so the foster care system, it served one of its purposes, and it reunified me and my mom after a few months. But as time went on, as I got older, as my mom got older, my mom began to struggle with mental illness a lot. What I like to say about my mom is that she tried her best with what she had, but my mom was also a childhood abuse survivor. She was a trafficking survivor, and she did not have the resources and the love and the care, so the trauma was passed down to me, and the generational cycles were passed down to me. I was not very good at school. My mom was someone who wanted me to have very high achievement, very high accomplishment. She really cared that I was successful, but we know when children are in homes that are unstable and unhealthy, it's very difficult. It can be very difficult for them to do well in school. So I would go to school, and I was getting not good grades. At this point, I'm in the 7th grade, and I had a teacher. His name was Mr. Rodenberger. Isn't that such a good name? I wish that was my Tori Rodenberger. It makes you a little hungry for a burger, you know? So Mr. Rodenberger, he had us read this book called The 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Teenager. At this point, I was a CD student, and I don't think I really had any goals or idea what I wanted my life to be. In this book, you've probably heard of The 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person. This is a spinoff for teenagers. And there were 7 rules in it. And the first rule was begin with the end in mind. And of course, when you're in the 7th or 8th grade, you're like, what does that mean? So he explained it like this. He said, you guys are in junior high right now, and your grades next year in high school, they're going to be permanent. And those grades, colleges are going to see them. And he said, that's what's going to determine for some of you guys to get an education. And he said, if some of you guys don't get an education, and let me be very clear, college is not the end-all, be-all. But he said, if some of you guys do not go to college, you're going to end up like your parents. And for me, what I realized, I had this image in my mind when he said that, and I imagined me as a mom, and I imagined what I was living with my mom. I imagined these unsafe people coming in and out of our home, these unsafe men around my children. I imagined drugs on the table, and I imagined all the abuse and chaos that I went through, my kids going through. And then I had this other image, and it was me as a mom, as someone who could nurture my kids, someone who could provide for them and love them and give them what they needed. And in that moment, I was like, I want that. I want that for my kids. I want that for my family. I want something different. And so I started to apply myself in school for the first time ever. And listen, I know that I'm really cute now. I'm really cute. But when I was in junior high, I looked like a chicken. I had the frizzy hair, and I was really, really scrawny and really long and awkward. I was the same height that I am now when I was in the 7th grade. So I was taller than all the boys. I had a crush on all the boys, but none of the boys had crushes on me. So I remember there was this one time I was on the computer, and I was checking my grades. And I had been working so hard. I'd been going to teacher, and I'd been asking them, like, questions for the first time. I kept trying to apply myself. And I'm looking at this screen. I'm looking at my grades, and there's this cute boy. His name is Dom. Hey, Dom. Sitting next to me. And he kind of looks over at my computer screen, and he goes, "What kind of grades do you get?" Because everyone knew. I didn't come off very smart before. You sit next to people, and you get the bad grade, and they see it. But on that screen, I had all A's and 1 B. And I said, "I get all A's." I was lying. That was the first time ever. But it felt so good to be able to say that when I looked like a chicken to the cute boy. And so I kept applying myself, and I kept trying to get good grades. But then things just got continually unstable in my home, and so I had to go into the foster care system for the second time. This time with my sister. I have a sister who's 9.5 years younger than me, and we went into the foster care system together. And this time, I felt so different. I was like, yes, we're going to escape the abuse. We're going to escape the chaos. We're going to be in a normal family. Everyone knows that foster care is not normal, but when you're a 12-year-old, you're like, it's going to be better than this. And I was so excited. But within a month of being in that home together, abuse occurred. I reported it, and I was deemed a liar. And I went to go live in a residential group home facility that I did not qualify to be in, and I was very, very angry. To live in the group home, you had to have the children, it was like residential, and the children had to have severe mental illness or behavioral issues, and I never had any of those. And I was really upset that these labels were being placed on me. But the judge was, so I went to go live in a group home in a different town, but I still had my judge from my county. And my judge, he mandated that I do therapy. And at the group home, they had therapy. So I went to therapy twice a week. And I was there in this group home for a while. And what I realized as I was going through this therapy was that living with my mom was really hard. I don't think I had ever realized that before. And that there were things that I did need to work through. And I went to therapy, and I opened up because I just wanted out of the group home. And I was smart in this way. I wasn't book smart, but I was smart in this way, like the manipulative kind of smart. Let's just say it for what it is. And I remember thinking, I'm going to talk to this therapist because I want to get out of here. So I'm going to just tell her what I need to say so I can leave. But as I was telling her about growing up with my mom, I realized that there were things that I had to work through. I did group therapy in this home, and hearing the other girls' stories was tremendous and helped me forgive my mom. And so many of the resources that they gave me, what they gave me was they gave me the opportunity to look back, to continue to look back over and over and over again and see the good and see the things that I needed to heal from. And there was this girl, her name was Jen. And Jen was like the most unliked girl in the home. She was the youngest, so naturally she was the most immature. But when Jen was sharing her story, she had one of the most horrendous stories of all of us. And I realized Jen had hurt us. Jen, she was like this little 10-year-old spitfire, and she was like the corruption of the home. But when she shared her story, I realized that she did what she did because she was hurt. And I realized that hurt people, but healed people help heal people. And I knew that it was that another moment, just like I had with Mr. Rodenberger, that I had a chance to choose one. And I wanted to be a healed person who helped heal people. And so I kept taking therapy seriously, and eventually they did let me out of the group home. And so I went to go move to my next foster home. And as he said, I moved throughout 12 homes throughout my entire foster care experience. And when that happens, you feel very displaced. You feel very unloved. You feel very unwanted. And you wonder if you're ever going to have a family. And by the end of it, I had really accepted. Like, I was a teenager in foster care, and people don't want to adopt teenagers. People don't even want to take teenagers in generally. And so I'd accepted. I'm not going to have a forever family, and that's okay. I was in my 12th foster home at this point, and I was living with a woman named Gina. And Gina was so kind, so loving. I ran track, and track was a pretty important. I just loved it. It was my escape. You know, school was my escape, but track was like the more fun escape because I was good at it and it was public. You know, when you get good grades, no one's seeing your report cards. And when you're in foster care, typically, especially as a teenager, no matter what you do, you're labeled as troubled, you're labeled as the bad kid, and I really wanted people to see me as the good kid. I wanted people to see me as good. And when I ran track, that was when people saw me as good, because I was kind of good at it. I was a little good at it. You know, I live in rural Ohio. I lived in rural Ohio when I ran track. So when you're the fastest girl on the track team, y'all know what that means. Like, I was okay. You know, on a state level. But I love track, and when I went in my 11th foster home before I lived with Gina, I went to my foster parents, and I said, I really want new track spikes. And I asked for them because track spikes are like the shoes that you run in when you run track. Did anyone here run track? A lot of people who ran track, not a lot of people who went to jail. That's good. That's good. You get track spikes because those are the shoes that you run in on the meet. And I asked it was my 11th foster parents, so before I lived with Gina, I said, can we get new track spikes? And they were like, yeah, of course. And they took me, we went to like a secondhand store. They got me track spikes. They were like 2 sizes too big, but I really didn't care. I was like, I got track spikes, and I wanted them because my track coach, his name was Scott, and he said in between my junior and senior year, we were training together. Again, like out of season, it was just my escape. Like I just loved to go to the track because I loved running. I loved my track coach. And he said, Tori, I think you can go on to the state track meet and I think you can win it. And I was like, I never been to the state track meet. And we have people here who've run track, so you like get it. You know, your first year, you probably go, maybe your freshman year, you go and you qualify, but you don't make it to finals. And then your second year, you make it to finals and you place low, and then your junior year, you place a little higher, and then your senior year, you win. But you don't just go your senior year from never going to winning. But he said that to me. He was like, Tori, I think you can go to the state track meet. I think you can win it. And he had a little caveat, and he said, if you do everything I say. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just do everything this old crazy man says. And if it doesn't work out, then it's technically his fault because I did everything he said. And so we started to train together. I got my track spikes that were 2 sizes too big. And that summer, me and my track coach became super close. He became like a father figure in my life. And again, track was just like this escape. It was this place that people saw me as good. And then I went to go live with Gina. And my track coach, eventually he pointed out very nicely that my track shoes were actually distance spikes. So I was a sprinter. I ran short distances fast. And that's different than distance running. So you need different shoes, I guess. So my track coach said, these are distance spikes, and you're a sprinter, you need sprinter spikes. So I went to Gina, and I said, Gina, my track coach said I need different new spikes. And Gina took me to a sporting goods store. She got my foot fitted for these shoes, and I got to try them on, and she got me brand new track spikes. Now that can sound really materialistic, but what Gina was communicating to me was that she believed in me. She said, with those track spikes, I believe in your dreams. I believe in your potential. I believe in who these people say you can be. I believe in what God can do through you. That's what Gina was saying. And so I started to train again with my coach, just kept training, but I really struggled to believe in myself. I had all the things that I needed. I had a good coach. I was living in a stable home. But at the end of the day, I didn't believe that I could do this really big thing. And so I would text my coach, and I'd say, like, it was like probably every week. I'd be like, do you still think I can win the state track meet? And he would be like, yeah. And then I'd text him the next week, do you still think I can win the state track meet? And he'd say, yes, I still think you can win it. And then I'd text him the next week, and I'd be like, do you still think I can win it? And he texted me back, and he said, Tori, you have to believe in yourself. And I was like, I don't think I could do that. Like, I literally did not know how to do that. Gina, she started taking me to church. And whether you are a churchgoer or not, what the church showed me was that I was loved, that I was cared for, that I had a family in them. And they presented the gospel to me. They presented God to me, and through him, I began to have confidence. I couldn't have confidence in myself, but who I understood God to be, I thought, okay, I think I can have confidence in this God and what he can do through me. And so I got a tattoo. And it was Philippians 4:13, the one that every athlete gets. And I was like, okay, I got the coach, I got the tattoo, we're going to the state track meet. Let's get it. Here it is. There it is. And that year, I became a 4-time state champion in track and field. Everyone always claps there, y'all, but it's not the best part of the story. Listen to this. My track coach, I emancipated out of the foster care system the day I turned 18 because I was very bitter, very done with the system, felt very burned by the government aspect of it all and what they'd done to me through placing me in a lot of homes and just silencing my voice. And so I left. And like 20% of youth who age out of foster care the day that they turn 18, I was instantly homeless. But there was a woman, her name was Tanya, and she took me into her home. And she just loved me, and she was like a mother figure to me. You know, Mr. Rodenberger, he showed me what I didn't want, but I didn't know how to get what I did want. When we grow up in dysfunctional homes, it can be really easy to be like, yeah, I don't want that, but we don't know how to get the family that is healthy, the family that is good. And what living with Tanya did was it showed me. She gave me an example. She is an incredible mom, an incredible wife, and she modeled that to me, and she's still a mother figure today. And then my track coach, I lived with Tanya, but Tanya could not keep me because my biological mom, as much as I love her, had a lot of jealousy, and it was not safe for Tanya to keep me. And so my track coach said, Tori, my family, I've talked to my daughters, and we would like to welcome you into our home. And so I moved in with my track coach. He said that before state, and so I moved in with my track coach. Yeah, before I won. And so I moved in with him the day that I won state. I went home that day. And I always wondered, who's going to walk me down the aisle? Who's going to be grandpa to my kids? And that is who he is to this very day. He's the man who walked me down the aisle. And when I came to Christ, I always imagined myself, I said, I'm going to walk down the aisle, and I'm just going to walk with God. I'm going to walk alone, and that's okay. But I had a dad. I had a dad who walked me down the aisle. And he is the grandpa to my children, and he is my father figure today. And there are many, like I said, I eventually went on to college. I became a part of the 3% of foster youth who graduate with a bachelor's degree or higher. 3%. It is so wild. And many foster youth, they go on to college, and they don't have a place to come home to. And they don't have, they might go to organizations for Christmas, but those organizations don't truly know what they want. They have to put it down on a list. I never even had to make a list for Christmas because I was known. And my track coach, he's the best gift giver, and I always went home to my family and for the holidays during college, and I was just loved. And that would be a really beautiful way to end the story. But we know that healing trauma takes a lot of time. And I would come home, and I would just push him away. And I would say, you're kicking me out. He was like, never. He never said that. But I'd say, you're kicking me out. You don't want me to be here. And I'd leave, and I'd slam doors, and I'd cuss in his face. And I did that many times, and he'd always say the same thing. And I think that this is why this organization's mission is so important. My track coach always said, this will always be your home. This will always be your room, and the door will be unlocked when you decide to come back. This will always be your home. This will always be your room, and the door will be open when you decide to come back. Every single time, over and over and over again. And that permanency, and that consistency, what this organization is offering is eventually what healed me. I eventually stopped cussing and slamming doors and believing that he was going to leave because he showed me that he wasn't. Well, all these people did. I know this is a story about me, but I hope you also see that this is a story about a church, about Gina, about Scott, about Tanya. All of these people had a part to play in my life. And what all of them did, so many of us, the reality is we're here to give. They're not being shy about the QR codes, okay? And it's true. We're here to give. These people, They invested. They bought me track spikes. They invested. My track coach invested hours of his time every day coaching me one-on-one. Tanya let me into her home with threats over her family, over her kids. They did not know that I would be speaking about them from stages 10 years later. But they invested. And today, we have the opportunity to invest. And we don't know what the results are going to be. But it may be someone singing your praises 10 years down the road. And what all these people did, we leave here and we're like, what can we do? We're here to give, but so often I know that our hearts start to stir. I want to do more. What can I do? And what I want to leave you with is that all of these people, what they did was, I was labeled a troubled kid, a bad kid, the teenager that nobody wanted, that went from home to home to home. But what these people chose to do was they chose to see me differently. They chose to choose a different perspective. And when we change the way we see something, we change the way we interact with it. So today, we have the opportunity to do that and choose how we want to see and who we want to be. Thank you.
Inspiring. Thank you so much. I don't understand with all that track how you ended up in jail. Why didn't you just run? I hear a burglar alarm. I'm going to run. Thank you so much. I'm pleased to turn the mic to a mother who's been directly impacted by this amazing community of supporters with her husband, Kevin. Debbie Murray, as I mentioned earlier, has adopted 13 children and fostered nearly 90 children over the course of the last 36 years, and all of them through this organization, all of them through Arms Wide. The Murray story is a testament to how it truly takes a village to support and uplift children in foster care, from family members and friends to neighbors and church members and to donors and volunteers like you all here today. So please help me welcome Debbie Murray to the stage.
I'm honored to be here, very honored, and to follow this. But yes, I've been with Arms Wide, my husband and I, for 36 years. Our oldest adopted child is 34 now. And believe it or not, our youngest are 7 and 8. In November, we adopted 2 little girls that we had for almost 3 years. And we were to a point in our lives of completely retiring. My husband just had retired from the Houston Fire Department after 40 years as chief of EMS. And I myself was a paramedic for 18 years with Jersey Village, where we live. But this opportunity came up with the girls, and after we'd had them so long and they had been through so much trauma, we went to our grown children and we said, do we have your support? By all means, Mom and Dad, and we've got your back. So we now have a just turned 7 and 8-year-old on top of grown children, 14 grandchildren, and 17 children. There is never a dull moment, never. We have a huge Christmas and huge Easters. We just had 57 at our house for Easter, where I had egg hunts for children and adults and piñatas for children and adults. It's so much fun, and my children love it. And I could tell stories all day about all the children I've had. My husband and I have had everything from preemies to toddlers up to 5 years old, 6 years old, and we've respite cared for some that were 7 and 8 years old. It's a journey. It's a journey I couldn't have done without a wonderful husband and family and a support system. I live in Jersey Village and attend Foundry United Methodist Church. My church is behind me. My neighbors are behind me. My friends are behind me, and they support me. I've had friends to go on and follow in my footsteps. One, a dear friend that is also with Arms Wide, that walked this journey with me for years, and now she's been with them for about 10 years. And it's a journey that's impossible to explain to you, but it's a calling. And I was called to do this with my husband. Never in a million years did I dream our family would be this large. and never did I believe we would be so blessed. But it's absolutely incredible. About 2 years ago, one of our foster children that we had from the time he was about 6 weeks old from a horrific abuse situation, and I had him till he was about 13, 14 months old. I got this phone call, and he said, "Are you Debbie Murray? And did you foster? And do you still foster?" And I said, "I do." And he said, "Well, my name is Michael." And baby Michael had come to me then, and he said, "I want to meet you." And so he come to our home and brought his wife and 2 children. And he's a registered RN trauma nurse in Dallas. And it was so ironic of the field that my husband and I had been in for him to have this. And he said, "I had to meet you." He said, "My mom told me wonderful stories about you and the time that I was in care with you for the visits that we would have." And he said, "I had to meet you to bring it all full circle." And it was an incredible time in our lives to be so honored that he would come back and want to be a part of us. And today, he's still a part of us. He comes back and he visits us now and then, and it's just so beautiful. But I stand before you to tell you these stories, and I could tell you so many more that Kevin and I have done together as a team. But more than anything, I want you to understand how wonderful Arms Wide is. Arms Wide has been there for us through thick and thin. They've been to my children's weddings. They've been to other things that my children have done and accomplished that we've adopted, and biological. They're behind us all the way. It's a team, and it takes a team to do this. And they're there for me. They're there for us through thick and thin. They're there to support us. And without you guys supporting what they do, it wouldn't be possible. We need the donations. We need your love and your care to help us to keep going and doing what we do. I plan to basically retire from what we're doing now, but to stay as a mentor with the agency and to stay to do functions like this or to be able to share our story with you guys. And I just appreciate every single one of you that are here today. I appreciate Tori and Frank Billingsley to do what they've done to support our agency. I appreciate it, and I thank you all.
Tough acts to follow. Thank you so much, Debbie. We're indebted to you, not just as an organization, but as a world, as a city, as a state. I mean, no question, as a species. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Venta, and I'm honored to be the board chair for Arms Wide. We're an amazing organization, as you know, because you're all here. We have a mission that's not only incredibly important, but personally important to many of us, many of the people that you've heard here today. It brings me a lot of pride to be here today and to hear from people like Debbie and Tori. Thank you so much. It's also incredible to see this room full of kind people who are gathered in support of Arms Wide and the vital work that the organization does to preserve and fulfill families. On behalf of the entire board, we're peppered all throughout here. Thank you. Our deepest appreciation goes to Sarah Barrett and Michele Marandi for co-chairing today's luncheon. Yes, we can clap. I saw somebody starting a clap over there. It is a beautiful luncheon despite the weather, and they have put us on track to a new luncheon fundraising record, being the highest earning luncheon in history today. I'm also excited to be able to introduce Arms Wide President and CEO, Dewana Jernigan, today. A quick but very important aside, today is Dewana's birthday. Happy birthday, Dewana. Dewana joined Arms Wide a little more than 4 years ago, and I've been on the board for 7, so I've been fortunate to witness her tenure. It's been amazing to see what she and her dedicated team have accomplished during the last 4 years. Just a few highlights before I hand it over. Arms Wide became the only provider of free state-contracted post-adoption services, including trauma-informed mental health services for adopted foster youth and their forever families in the Houston area. They added kinship care, programming to help ensure children can remain with trusted adults, and help those kinship caregivers access much-needed support and resources. They launched their It Takes a Village initiative, which aims to disrupt disproportionality and disparities which affect Black children in child welfare. They saw a need to offer therapeutic foster care to support children with more complex needs, so they went through the complicated steps to upgrade their foster care license to serve children who need them most. I could go on and on, but I will not. You get the idea. All of these changes, all the ways in which Arms Wide adapts their services to meet the needs of kids and families, are enabled through fundraisers like today's luncheon and generous supporters who share our belief that every child deserves a loving, permanent family where they feel safe and supported. So thank you again for being here and supporting Arms Wide. Arms Wide has done incredible things under Dawana's leadership, and our organization is lucky to have her. Without further ado, please help me in welcoming Arms Wide President and CEO and birthday girl, Dawana Jernigan.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that introduction, Amanda. And thanks again to Debbie and to Tori for your inspirational stories. It makes events like this that much more special to have stories and to have individuals like you who've poured so much into so many lives. So thank you again for being here today. So good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out to celebrate this afternoon and to celebrate my birthday. I'm just going to think of this as my big birthday luncheon. When I joined Arms Wide 4 years ago in April of 2020, we were just beginning to grasp the reality of the ways in which the pandemic would change life as we knew it. We were also just beginning to experience some of the most significant change in the Texas child welfare system in its history. Throughout these challenging and changing times, the staff at Arms Wide has remained resilient and committed to providing both family and person-centered services and mission-focused services. This resilient spirit, coupled with your generous support, has made it possible to continue to serving children and families in the greater Houston and South Texas area. Because of supporters like you, we can connect children like Jada with families who will love and support them for the rest of their lives. After being removed from an abusive household, Jada was cared for by Kenyatta, her foster mom, who then later adopted her. Kenyatta provides Jada with safety, happiness, and unconditional love that every child deserves and needs. Kenyatta told us recently that since the adoption is finalized, Jada exudes so much more confidence and speaks with the assurance that comes from knowing that she is part of a forever family. Because of your support, we can also connect children like Adeline. Adeline experienced neglect by her first family due to substance abuse. And now she's connected with amazing parents, the Shallecks, who give everything to spend time with her. The Shallecks first welcomed Adeline to their home on an emergency foster care basis, where they were unsure if she would live with them temporarily or permanently. But they immediately knew that there was something special about Adeline. And so when it became clear that Adeline would not be able to return to her first family, they were overjoyed to welcome her into theirs. Now with her forever family, Adeline gets to play in the park and sing songs from Encanto, two of her favorite activities. And she does this knowing that she's safe and loved in a caring and nurturing family. Now, as amazing as these two sets of parents are, there are countless others in the Arms Wide network just like them. And none of these families walk this path alone. As Debbie stated earlier, they do it with the help of their partners, their loved ones, their community, the Arms Wide team, and everyone here at this luncheon who fuel our mission. Many of you may not know this, but in addition to it being my birthday, the month of May is designated as National Foster Care Awareness Month. This month provides us with a profound opportunity to reflect on the importance of supporting and uplifting those who are experiencing foster care, as well as the dedicated individuals who work tirelessly within the foster care system. So I'd like to take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to the foster parents, the social workers, the advocates, and the volunteers who work tirelessly to provide stability, guidance, and love to those involved in the foster care system. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the people who make mission happen at Arms Wide. Our board of directors, wherever you are throughout the room, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your thought leadership and partnership and the guidance and the tons of time that you volunteer to Arms Wide. And I'd like to say thank you to our staff team. This is an extraordinary group of people, and they're seated, many of them are seated back there at the table. An extraordinary group of people who show up every day in the offices, who show up in the community, and yes, in people's homes on a daily basis. They make mission happen. They show up and they do the work, and that work is fueled by donations that we receive from people like you. Your generous support enables us to achieve our mission. So, we would be so incredibly grateful if you would consider making a gift today. As you know, we have our match challenge that's made available by the Spiewak family. We would be incredibly grateful if you're able to do that today to help us to continue this work. Help us to continue to preserve and to fulfill families. And finally, because we can just truly never thank them enough, I want to thank and recognize our wonderful luncheon chairs, Sarah Barrett and Michele Marandi. Can you please stand? Thanks so much for the months of hard work in making today's luncheon such a success. This would not have been possible without you. Thank you so much, thank you. And thank all of you again for being here today. You make our work possible, and I look forward to the next time I can share more of the work our extraordinary team does to preserve and to fulfill families. Now, I'm gonna turn it over to Frank so he can close us out and you can get back on the road. And I just wanna say thank you again for being here.
Really just some housekeeping. First of all, I think I've got a little sunshine trying to break through. For those of you that valet parked, we put your cars at Central Market so you could get some exercise today. And if you're jealous of those beautiful flowers, there are flowers on your table and you can take them home for $50. You can use that QR code to pay for them, dig out some cash, or if you're a runner, just steal them. Just make sure you can go quickly. All right, that's going to conclude our day. Please be careful in all of this nasty weather getting home, and I will see you on TV, and that is where I'm headed right now. Have a great day.